Welcome back to the Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset podcast with me, Johnny Pardo. And today I welcome Donzel to the show. I'm just going to quickly introduce Donzel and then we're going to dive into the conversations. With over 3 decades of experience leading global teams at Fortune 200 companies, Donzel A. Leggett is the principal at Destiny Development Delta LLC, where he specializes in executive leadership development. Known for his strategic vision and mentorship, he founded the Anti-Racism Commitment Coalition and has served on influential boards, including the International Youth Foundation, a proud Purdue graduate and former academic All-American football player. Donzel splits his time between Florida and Chicagoland with his wife, Tracy. So, Donzel, glad to have you on. Like I was saying to the listener, I'm very impressed with the setup of the books behind you, and very kind of like tidy. Big reader myself. So great to love talking to other readers. Yeah, Donzel, it sounds like you're a big, as a leadership, you're really into leadership, and you're founding things. You're out there wanting to start initiatives. Have you always had like that drive behind you in terms of leadership? And your passion for it?
Johnny, first of all, thank you for having me on your wonderful platform. I was telling you earlier that it's very impressive to have a platform that you started this podcast, I think back in 2019. So we're now talking 6 years that you've had this podcast going. You've got millions of downloads. That's very, very impressive. Sharing this opportunity for me to be on, but also for what you've been doing for the last 6 years to help provide strong mindfulness and self-esteem, confidence building for people. We all need that. So thank you. I really want to make sure that I said that to you, Johnny.
Thank you.
And then to answer your question, as I look back at my life, I always realized that I had some leadership qualities, but I really wasn't comfortable stepping up to be a leader all the time. There were times I did, though. In fact, it's a funny story. I was in my hometown of Key West, Florida over the summer, and we had a family reunion, and the head chef, whom I did not know, thought I didn't know him, heard I was there. He came into the ballroom and came right up to me and introduced himself, told me his name. It didn't click with me at first, but then he told me that when we were in kindergarten, I'm a big kid. So I grew up, I stopped growing at 14. So I'm like 6 feet, 5 inches tall. So I think that may be just under 2 meters, about 240 pounds. I'm guessing that's like 110 kilo or something like that, 120. So when I was a kid, I was always bigger than everyone else. This guy was really small. Like even now, he's maybe like 5'2". So a very, very small guy, maybe 150 pounds. So he said, when we were in kindergarten, you probably don't remember this, he said, but there were kids that would always pick on me because I was small. And he said, you stood up for me and you pushed those kids away and told them don't ever pick on me again. He said, that changed my life. He said, you didn't know this because we ended up changing schools. He said, but I never had the chance to tell you. I want to tell you now that, we're 50 years later, how you changed my life by standing up for me. So I didn't obviously think anything of that at the time. But in fact, I asked my mom, I said, Mom, do you know anything about this? And she said, you know what? I do remember his mother calling me and telling me and thanking me for what you did. So that happened when I was in kindergarten, but I didn't really take advantage, I'd say. And then I played college football, American football. So not the great football you guys play with Manchester United and all these great teams you guys have over there. But I played American football. Our team didn't win a lot. And I remember after I was finished playing, and I met several of my teammates years later at like a reunion, I remember several of them telling me how much they looked up to me and looked at me as a leader. And as I thought about that, I did the right things. Like I was a good student. I stayed out of trouble and I was a good player. So I led by example by, doing the right things. But what I could have done that I didn't do was I could have influenced all my teammates to also do the right things, not just by watching me, by talking to them. I could have gotten us all together to do extra work to be a better team. Like instead of going out and drinking beer, we could have gone to the football office and watched film for the next team. I didn't do that. I didn't get them to do those things. And I realized it was a missed opportunity because they told me basically what they were saying is you had the power to influence us because we saw all these great things you were doing, but I didn't take advantage of that. So when I started my career, I said, now I recognize I can influence people's lives for the better. I can use my ability to influence and do good things with it. And that's when I first started purposefully using my leadership to influence for good, recognizing that everyone has something good in them. And I took it as my responsibility to help bring that out, to help them overcome challenges they may see, negative experiences they may have had in the past, tough circumstances they feel like that trap them, and show them the light, show them that they have value, that they have talent. They just have to allow it to come out. And my job was to help break down barriers, build up their confidence so it could. And the more I did that, and the more positivity I saw was spreading and how it was influenced people's lives, the more I was determined to do that for the rest of my life.
Wow. Right. So kind of like from a young age, really, didn't recognize it, and then you started recognizing it
Yes.
throughout, which is awesome. And that's amazing how that young kid just like reaches out to you, and then you bump into him as well. Just
Amazing, amazing. Brought tears to my. I got a picture with me and him hugging. Now that
oh,
we're both 57 years old, thinking back to that moment that I don't remember, but it really illustrated to me the power each of us can have. A lot of times we think that leadership um, can only be if you're leading a group of people, a big group of people,
mm,
CEO or president of a company or the manager or something like that. We forget two simple facts. Number one, we are all leaders because we're the leader of our own lives. And
mm.
if we don't step up and lead ourselves, who will? It's in our agency. So we got to step up. But the second thing we forget is all it takes to influence one person with your caring leadership, one person besides yourself. And if you can help change that one person's life, maybe by just saying good morning to them in a genuine way. How are you doing in a genuine way? Trying to figure out ways you can help and support. If that one person is influenced positively, we don't know that they may go on to help another person. They may go on to influence 10 more people. We forget that. It's not just about being the manager. It's about how are you leading yourself and what can you do to help at least one other person by showing strong and positive leadership.
I like that, yeah, because I always used to think of like leadership as like this person preaching to like hundreds of people in front of them, but actually it could just be a small person like you did. You had some leadership. I also really resonated with what you said about leading yourself first,
Yes.
right? Because without that foundation, it's not gonna probably impact people as much, right?
No, people can sense authenticity.
Mm,
And until you get in touch with yourself, it's very difficult to be authentic. Now you can lead people in an inauthentic way, and you can lead people with negativity and fear. And
mm,
we see all examples of it all around our world, right? But that type of leadership is hollow. The first time things start going bad and tough, people start looking internally to themselves. Am I following the right person? Is this the right thing? Am I on the right track? And it eventually collapses. But if you lead from an authentic place, if you really know yourself, the good things about yourself and the warts you have, right? And you accept those things and believe in those things. And if you can lead yourself knowing, hey, I'm great at these, maybe I'm not so good at these, I'm gonna work on them, but I believe in me. People can sense that. They can feel it. And when you believe in yourself, it's easy to show love and care to other people. When you know yourself and accept yourself, you can show care for other people. And when you show care and love, it's easy to lead. You don't have to tell people what to do. People want to what? They want to follow the things that you're doing. And you know what? Part of leadership is also letting others give you ideas, letting others lead
mm.
the way at times. Your confidence as a leader doesn't mean you have to always be the one in front. What it means is everyone knows you have their back. So if they have the confidence to go in front, they do it because they know you're right behind them. That's also what a leader does.
And getting away from that, not just the idea of like dictating everything that people have to do and like do this and controlling. It's like it's not that at all. It's about allowing people to shine. Sounds like, and take from when they
Absolutely.
need to. Right? Sounds.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, we all want to matter. I mean, I've traveled all around the world. I've been to England, the UK, other parts of the UK as well. I've been all over the world. I've interacted with thousands of people. I've had one-on-one discussions like this with over 10,000 people from all over the world. I did a calculation. I've spent like 60,000 hours of my work life in one-to-one meetings. And if you
Wow.
count the times I've spent with people outside of work, just advising them, counseling them, mentoring them, it's over 100,000 hours. So you think about Malcolm Gladwell's rule of 10,000 hours to master something. I've
Oh
done
yeah.
that over 10 times. You know what I mean? So I know people. I feel like I know people. And what I can tell you is that, when you help people see the value in themselves, everyone wants that. Everyone wants to matter. Doesn't matter if you're in China or in London. If you're in Shanghai or London, or if you're in Mumbai, or Dubai, if you're in Rio, in Brazil, or in Mexico City. I've been to all these places. Everyone, thinks, man, everyone speaks a different language. Their values different. No, they're not. Yeah, they speak different languages, but everyone has the same value. I want to matter. I want to have a life of agency. I want my kids to be able to, my family to be safe. That's what people want. But it all starts with, do they matter? Do they matter in your eyes? And if you can show them they matter in your eyes, it gives them the confidence to step up and lead, to lead themselves first, and then to follow when needed and take the lead when they need to as well, knowing that you've got their back. But we all have to remember, show people they matter.
Love that. Not just controlling them, but understanding them and allowing them to see that. Donzel, like for the individual
Yeah.
who's like just a bit of guidance, maybe if there's the individual out there who's like they're really down on their luck or
Yeah.
fortune. Actually, I don't like that, but like things aren't going their way, and
Yes.
they're like, I can't impact anyone, and they've really lost hope in themselves. They don't know like not seeing like the light at the moment. How can they begin to start leading themselves?
Yeah. It's tough, for many of us, especially when what we see, whether it's on the news or on social media,
Mm,
the surrounding environment is sending us negatively reinforcing messages. And so the first thing I would tell them, get in touch with yourself and shut out all the negativity. We always have to remember that things could be worse. Things could be worse. And so instead of focusing on the bad things, focus on the positive things. What are things that are on your side? And like I said, get to know yourself. Be comfortable. It's tough to do sometimes because we've all got things we're not proud of. We all got things that we don't like about ourselves. But if you can't get comfortable with those things, you'll never be able to move forward because there's going to always be storms. There's going to always be something hitting you in the face. If you don't have that authentic belief in yourself, it's going to be difficult. So the first thing I say, spend time with yourself and really think about, what do I want in the next 5 years? Now, I would say 30 years ahead, but not everyone can do it, especially if you're in this situation. Think about 5 years from now. You can't do that 1 year. Where do I want to be in 1 year? Honestly, that's better than where I am now. Start with that to give yourself some hope. The other thing I would tell them, shut down all of the stuff that they're doing that brings negativity to them. And I'll give you a good example. There's a study done that the average person in the world spends about 2.5 hours on social media. Now, that's probably most of the developed countries. Let's make it simple. United States. I'll use it as a proxy that usually average person 2.5 hours on social media. Now we can argue, but I don't think social media is that productive in terms of building my self-esteem and showing me positive things. That's what I've seen. Certainly, it's not educating me on things that are going to be useful, right? Now, conversely, that same study or another study showed the average person, like average American, spends 16 minutes a day doing something to develop themselves. 16 minutes. In
mm,
other words, reading a book. Like you see these books back here, reading a book,
mm.
book to help them. Learning a different language, learning how AI works, not using ChatGPT, but learning how large language models actually work. Anything that makes them learn more about the world and become competitive, only 15 minutes. So if you do the calculation, 2.5 hours on social media over the course of an average lifetime, that's like 10 years. 15 minutes over the course of a lifetime is like 6 months. So just think about this. If you're down on your fortunes, things aren't going the way you want, and the average person you're competing against, and you're like yourself, is spending 2.5 hours of their time on social media instead of 15 minutes versus learning. What if you reverse that? As a first step to help change your fortunes, what if you started spending 2.5 hours of your day building yourself, learning a language, becoming more physically fit, thinking about your future, your real future, learning something new, again, like how do these models work, although that type of thing, and then only spent 15 minutes on social media, or cut it out. do you think you'd start improving your chances of your fortunes changing? I would say yes, because you're now creating a competitive advantage for yourself. You're differentiating yourself from everyone else. And then if you stack on the fact that of all the people you're competing against are doing this, plus you've got artificial intelligence gaining, starting to becoming more and more explosive, more and more capable. We've all got to do something to improve ourselves every day. I'm 57 years old. You could say that I've gotten some success. I retired from corporate life. There's no reason why I need to be doing all these things if I don't want to. I could just travel around the world and sip cognac and eat steaks and things like that. But that's not what I'm doing. What am I doing? I get up every morning and spend at least 2 hours learning. That's what I'm 2 hours learning. Then I'm spending time trying to figure out how to get this message out there to inspire all these people who feel like this individual you're talking about to be motivated and inspired to take charge of their life, transform themselves to be the leaders of their life. And then the book that I wrote called Make Your Destiny Happen actually is meant for this person you're describing. It walks through exactly how to transform their leadership to take control of their life, starting with getting to know yourself. Then it provides an actual roadmap of things to do, steps to take to actually start changing the trajectory of your life. That's exactly what I wrote the book for the person you're describing.
Love that. Practical steps as well. So breaking
Yes.
it down even simple. I was going to ask you about the book, actually, Make Your Destiny Happen. That's just come out, Donzel.
It did. August 27th is the day it was published. So it's been out, just coming on, it'll be 2 months here this week. We've reached, in fact, we just reached a big milestone. I got this here too, 100 global reviews,
Right.
which may not seem like a lot, but there was a study done on Amazon on all the books that they published. And I think like less than 10% of all the books that they published even get a 3-star review, which is crazy, which means that they had to at least get one review. And so it estimates that to get 100 reviews is probably, can't calculate, but probably less than 1% of the books have at least 100 reviews. We have 100 reviews, and they're all really, really good. And I feel really positive about the book. I've had a couple of talks with people who have read the book who wanted to contact me and tell me how it impacted them. I had this one person who I actually went to high school with. Hadn't talked to her in 37 years. She contacted me because she read my book and she wanted me to know the impact it had. She told me that she was having a tough time, some really tough circumstances. She read my book and it happened to be at the right time in her life. And she literally started crying, telling me how impactful the book was to inspire her that, you know what, I can take charge of my life. And I'm going to do it. So stories like that, some of the reviews, like I said, you read the reviews on Amazon, you take a look. I mean, they're pretty incredible. So I'm pretty proud. Now, I'm sure there'll be someone who won't like it. I'm sure there'll be someone who'll say this is not exactly what we thought. And that's okay. But, I feel very, very good about how the book is taken off and the impact. And I've told everyone my goal. Everyone said, how many books do you want to sell? My goal is what I said earlier. If I can impact one person and change the trajectory of their life for the positive, this book's been successful.
Wow, just hitting one person, but it sounds like, I know it's done a lot more than that. And giving people a framework to work through as well. That's very strong. Well, what it sounds like to me, and the books, is like helping people sort of change maybe a little bit of their stories, their narratives, because we can get caught in, like, you think things like social media and things, and from people I spoke to, guests, and even coaching people in the past, get caught into this kind of like helpless mentality sometimes. It sounds like your
Yes.
book's really allowing people to get back to that truth of, who they are and the leadership and leading.
Absolutely. In most of the self-help models and leadership models, and I've been through a lot of them. I mean, I've read about them, and they brought them to our organization, and this is the best thing now, all these things. And so I really set out to make something differential, because if those worked the way they should, I wouldn't have to write my book. Right. So I said, I got to do something that truly does make it differential. And so what I try to do is first develop this model that helps people transform their leadership. Like I said, through authenticity, by regaining their confidence, getting to know themselves, understand how to hold yourself accountable, how to take action, how not to be timid and take that action, how to then also build a network by showing love to people, being accessible to people, bringing all that together, really transforming, taking charge of your leadership for yourself, and not basing it on what all these other business leaders have done. Most of these sort of leadership models are based on, they study successful business people. They distill it down to 1 or 2 points. We say, okay, this is it. The problem with that is most of these folks have had very unique circumstances surrounding why they got to where they are. Very unique. The other thing it doesn't take into account is just because they're successful doesn't mean they're happy, right? So their well-being isn't really considered. So you have to consider happiness when it comes to your life success, right? If you're successful but you're miserable, no one who wants to be in that world. I don't. I can tell you that, right? I've made decisions in my life to be happy, and maybe it cost me some money, but at least I'm happy, right? So you want to be able to do what's authentic to you that allows you to be successful, that puts you on the right track, but also maintains your well-being. So I took that model and then married it with the next piece, which is then a roadmap. Steps, like you said, a practical guide to follow the steps. Here's step one to build your life plan. Here's how you create the communication language around your brand. Here's how you engage people who want to be part of your network to help you. Here's how you continually make sure you activate your plan, even when you get tired and bored and you don't want to do it anymore. And here's the key, continuously developing yourself. Here are all the steps to take to make sure that your transformation of your leadership to take charge actually does something with it. That's what differentiates our model.
I like that. It's not kind of like a one size fits all, but it's like getting them to kind of like connect with themselves and kind of dive into deeper what's going to serve them, but pulling that greatness out of them.
Exactly. It's a tailored program to each individual person instead of a one size fits all. Medium fits everybody. Well, no, I'm extra large and this is my cousin's extra small. That doesn't fit us, right? No, our program is tailored to you. It's specific to you and your life and your life plan and your definition of what happiness is, what your definition of what well-being is, what your definition of success is. That's exactly right, Johnny.
And I know there's a model you've got. It's the Destiny Development Delta model. Is that the kind of model you're taking them through in the book?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm taking them through in the book. That's what I'm talking about. The Destiny Development Delta model for transformational success. That's the title of the book. And the model is made up of these two parts that I just described. The first one is called the A Attitudes of Leadership, which is that piece around transforming your leadership. And the second piece is called I Lead Change, which is that roadmap to allow you to follow so that once you've transformed your leadership and you now take charge, here's what to do. That's exactly what the Destiny Development Delta model was designed for.
I love that. Yeah, sounds like there's quite a bit of like actions and practical things they can do rather than just reading information, because I know there's a lot of information out there and people can get a bit overwhelmed sometimes.
Yeah, and first of all, I mean, very few people see the value in reading. Certainly you want to read for entertainment, so some people do that. But if you're reading a book like this, that's a guidebook for to help you kind of turn your life around or get on the right track or achieve more. You want some practical steps, right? You want some action here. You want, what am I going to do with this? I mean, it's one thing to read and be all fired up, but then what, right? So that's why I thought it was so important to have very practical steps. The other thing you said I thought was really important. I wanted a book that people would like to read, and if you just talk about, the leadership values and here are the steps to take, after a while, okay, how's this exciting? So what I try to do is write the book so anyone can read it and be entertained and learn something. So every time I introduce a concept, I follow it up with a story about my life or a story about experiences I've had where I applied that concept. And these stories are interesting. I thought they were, but you never know. But I put it out there and people came back and told me the stories kept me reading. Even the people that don't like to read. I've found out there's a lot of people that don't like to read anymore. They rather listen to the audiobook, and my audiobook is still, it'll be hopefully out by the end of this year. But what I found from those folks who don't love reading, especially when it comes to this kind of heavy things, they really love this book because every time they kind of got to, this concept, I don't like that. What's another story? Then another concept, another story. And by the time they got to the end, it was like, wow, that was great. I love that. I love the story. So for your listeners out there who may be intimidated by a book, it's only 240 pages. I also have a lot of graphics in the book. So if you take the graphics, probably about 200 pages of writing, and of those 200, half are stories, at least, probably more, are just stories bringing it to life. So I hope that gives people the confidence, okay, this is something I could take a look at and it's going to apply to me. That's the other piece of feedback I like is if you read the reviews on Google, you see so many people saying it's almost like Donzel's talking to me.
Mm.
It's almost like he's just telling me a story. That's how I wanted the book to read. Not like someone's lecturing to you, but like someone's talking and telling a story. And I'm really proud of that.
I like that. So kind of like concept, story, and then sort of like some questions and things like that to get them going, I guess, as well, maybe.
That's also in there. So several chapters I'll end with a question or a slight exercise for people to kind of see if they kind of picked up or be able to put their own spin or to really, consider, okay, how does this apply to me? So I have some of those in there as well, which is pretty fun.
Oh, that's cool. Like there's sort of like exercises and questions.
Yes.
Yeah, I know we all like to read books differently. I like to write a summary of the main notes at the back page when I've read a book and then kind of recap them and type them up. But I know some people like to kind of go through practical. I do the exercises if there's one in there as well. Some people really like those exercises. So yeah, it sounds like they're getting an idea. Oh, I can relate. Donzel's actually sharing a story, and then it's like, oh, now I can practically see how that fits to me. So sounds like a good mix on that side, I think.
Absolutely. What I also like about it is a lot of these books are written specifically for business executives or people in business. And initially, I was going to write the book that way. But then over the last several years, when again, like the person you described, I started noticing that there was a lot of despondent sort of feeling, a lot of dark feelings, a lot of people feeling powerless, a lot of people feeling like there's no hope. And so I said, you know what? I need to write this book for the everyday person. Business executives can translate it, but instead of having it be for them and the everyday person to translate it back to their kind of common sense level, let me write it for an everyday person. Anyone, whether you're a school teacher, whether you're a great podcast host like Johnny Pardue, whether you are a carpenter or a plumber or a stay-at-home parent or a student or an executive, this book applies to you because I'm speaking directly to individuals. Every person's a leader. But a lot of the examples I'm using, some of them are personal examples, but some of them also are examples from my experience in business, but told in a very personal way. So there's something in this book for everyone. It's not just a book for those, like you said at the beginning, who see themselves as leaders of people, large groups. It's for everyone because every single one of us is the leader of ourselves.
That's awesome. I love that quote. We're all the leader of ourselves. So empowering.
Yes.
Donzel, so obviously there's loads of value I can tell it is in that book. So where can the find the book if they want to reach out and, well, when they want to reach out and grab a copy of it? And if they want to check out the rest of your work as well, where's the best places? And before we sort of wrap up, is there a final message you want to share with us today?
Final message I want to share is you are the leader of your life. Don't let anyone take your agency away from you. Step up and be that leader. Transform yourself to be that leader. All it takes is the first step. Get to know yourself, be authentic with yourself, believe and love yourself. If you can do that, I've got the roadmap for you to follow to take the next steps. But remember, be the leader of your life. This is the book, Make Your Destiny Happen. You can get it on Amazon.com. You can also get it on Goodreads. If you're interested in bulk orders, you can contact us directly on my website. It's www.destinydelta.com. But also, it's on www.makeyourdestinyhappen.com. Make it very simple. The name of the book, Make Your Destiny Happen. You can also get to my website that way. And you can put in bulk orders if you have teams or family members. I've had so many parents call me and say, I'm going to buy this book for my kids. I have school teachers. I'm going to buy this book for my class, and things of that nature. I've had some other people have small teams. I'm going to buy the book for my team. So you can find us that way. We're also on social media. You can find us on both LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. We'll have our tags for Johnny and his notes for the show notes. And then we also have a YouTube channel. So if you want to take a look at some short little video clips, I have a podcast. It doesn't compete with Johnny's, a very short one. I call it the Petite Podcast, the Make Your Destiny Happen Petite Podcast. It's only 5 episodes, 5 or 6 minutes each of them, where I take, again, a concept in the book and tell a story. So it's entertaining as well. So lots of different opportunities to check us out. But remember the website, www.destinydevdelta.com or www.makeyourdestinyhappen.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Amazing, Donzel. Yeah, it'll be check out the show notes to grab yourself a copy and to find out more from Donzel and check out his amazing work out there. So love what you finish with you are the leader of your own life. So remember that. Thank you so much for coming on today, Donzel.
Thank you, Johnny. And once again, thanks for all the tremendous work that you've been doing for sure over these last 6 years, providing this platform for people to build their confidence, take control of their agency, and feel good even when times are dark. I thank you for that.
Thank you. So that concludes our episode for today. And remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.